maps until 74. That's when we require elevation of homes. Homes are built before 74. We have our stormwater system regulation drains until 1987. So, you know, we have a lot of old infrastructure happening in every place. We have a lot of growth that's going on. And now we're starting to tackle these issues that are happening. And like I said, it's not an easy conversation to have, but I think this is great. Good start for you guys. I heard out there some of the shovel-ready project might not be ready until about 4 years from now. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. Okay, sorry. I'm just trying to listen in here. It's hard to hear from back the sound. But I will say though that it is definitely an issue that we definitely got to take on. You know, the impacts that would happen in these communities is huge. And so I commend all of you for tackling this thing. I know that once you get closer to shovel-ready projects, we might see some more appropriations come from the state, because that's what they seem to like right now. But as another advice or something that was floating around in my world was that we floated the idea of even have a bond in place to help fund some of these projects too. I don't know if that's something that would be feasible, then have to go to public vote obviously, but maybe something to help get streamline some of these projects that we need to get to in order to get the shovel and get these things off the ground. So with that, nice place. It's really nice to be here. Mayor, it's good to see you again, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, no problem.
Alright, so now we got the assessment study done and all that, so it opens up the door now so we can start getting some of these projects, some funding done to start getting some of these projects done. As the time goes by, we will be adapting the system further and to get more projects. I guess staff need to look at to see if we have any of these emergency plans that's on the list already established, and if they need to be updated. And we'll carry on there, and I know it's not gonna be tomorrow or next week or next month. It might be a couple of years down, and we have to just hold on, we got a lot of work to do. Florida has changed, like the mayor said, Florida has changed over the years, and it's changing even more. One of the scariest ones is if some of these legislation things go through, it's going to cut our capability of being able to go out to banks to get bond funding, because the legislation is going to cut our funding that we can get, and that's what the banks look at, is how you're going to pay them back. And if you get $100,000 loan and they want $25,000 a year, but you can only afford $10,000, they're not going to be too good on getting you that loan. So those are things that we have to deal with and that we have to take care of. And we will get the citizens what they need as soon as we can, and as soon as we get some funding in and get things approved. Thank you. Okay, undo it.
Sorry, I just wanted to circle back, just dotting I's and crossing T's for grants, okay? So all of you earlier kind of, nodded head, yes, we agree with the assessment. And after hearing from each one of you and hearing from the citizens here today, I'm not hearing of any changes to the adaptation strategies that need to happen. I'm hearing that we may have additional project areas within the facility plan that need to be considered and implemented. Again, identified as vulnerable, showing up in the vulnerability assessment as such allows us to make those adaptations also. So with that, and your permission, we will go ahead and consider the draft adaptation strategy to not need changes, and we'll go ahead and finalize that for submittal as well. Is that a correct assessment?
Yeah, I got one question on the forced main that you're talking about going up Tandy
roadway.
Yeah, I don't wanna see us do a patch, I wanna see us redo
I
the
don't
road
like
correctly.
patches. I don't like patches, and they don't work really well in the conditions we have here, so, we would not look to give you a patch.
I have one question as well. The adaptation plan, I know you touched on this, I just wanted a little bit more clarification. It was about stormwater pump implementation to lower Lake Helen and Lake Harlan water levels during wet season. Is there a dry season? I know you said ahead of the rainy season, there was, some consideration, but do you have a plan in place for that?
I tell you what, let me go ahead and tweak the language in that table to say that it would be pumping prior to and or during wet season.
Okay.
Because we're technically in the dry season now.
And St. John's is low right now.
Well, and honestly, I think when, now that we know what we know from the district, I think that wording is more appropriate, so I will incorporate that into the final adaptation plan to say prior to or during. I think they're probably going to find lowering of the lake levels to be less objectionable during the dry season. The one complaint I have heard from folks in other areas is when you lower the lake levels during the dry season, then sometimes if you don't get the wet season that you thought you were gonna get, you end up with a mud hole, and that's not everyone's fave, so there's some balancing act there that I think comes into play is how far down do you draw it and how quickly do you do so, or do you do it in stages, adapting as you know more about the weather.
Right.
And we don't wanna end up in the same problem that Deltona had during Milton. When they went to draw down their lake to get rid of the excess water, the area it was going into was higher than the lake, and the water came into Deltona instead of going out.
Yes, yes. I will say, when we looked in the facility plan, and this was discussed in that document that we presented to you last year, we found that the lake levels of Lake Helen were 7 feet higher than quote normal, what normal should have been. So that was 7 feet less storage that you had available to you during that event. And it made a difference in the modeling. So the road between the two lakes there, when we modeled it at a normal elevation, it didn't flood. When we put the lakes to the level they were at prior to that event, it flooded.
Well, one of the problems we had in 2024 was starting in the spring all the way through the hurricane season, we had multiple rainy seasons, so the ground was already saturated and the water levels were elevated. That when we got the hurricane, which dumped an excessive amount of water, it had no place to go. So,
And that's why stormwater has gone the route of continuous adaptive management, and we do it through smart electronic controls to really facilitate keeping everything at an appropriate elevation.
Most of the times when you do the pump station there, they're set by volts. So you can have that set where that lake will stay at a certain level at all times. If we get a real hard rainy season, the pump will kick on. If it don't get up high, the pump stay off.
Right.
So most of the time, we can control that. What we did in the city of the area, we just control it by volts.
Yep.
So you can keep the pump, the lake at a certain level at all times using volt system.
Yeah. We'd have monitoring on it so that we'd be able to really dial it in for the most appropriate conditions. So other than that change, any other changes to the adaptation strategy? about like he was talking about with the washboarding or whatever.
Right, exactly, and like
We
we
sneak
have
them in.
Pennsylvania.
We don't talk about them, we sneak them in.
Okay.
Be
Okay,
creative, be
Okay.
creative.
got it. Okay.
They don't tend to like to use stormwater money to pay for non-stormwater things, but I can present it another way.
And if we're doing a roadway improvement, then we can maybe work in conjunction with, like, for example, Pennsylvania needing, work done. If we're improving that roadway.
There's always opportunities to look at improving the roadway, at the same time you're improving the drainage infrastructure. You could look at if you want to incorporate any sort of green infrastructure into that. You're not confined in at this time.
Okay. So we don't need that language in there.
No, ma'am.
It's so much of what they did on Virginia Drive, they used a lot of stormwater funds on that because it affected the drainage for the road and stuff.
I just want to say that, kudos to the new CA and his, Commissioner Farmer for reaching out to DOT because I know in the past, we've had these issues and I believe we probably just complained about them amongst ourselves and not reached out and let them know how bad it is. It's over here. So I think that's a good first step and I know that this is gonna take time because government moves very slowly. But at least I think that we're finally on a track that might get us somewhere. So kudos to y'all.
Alright. So everyone good with the adaptation plan then?
Did you get a copy of, Todd Preston's?
I did not, I was gonna ask your CA for that, if I could. And if you don't have extra copy, certainly you can email it to us later if you'd like. If we can make it. Oh, perfect. Thank you very much.
Nancy, did you want to say something?
I did, I wanted to ask
You
about.
wanna fill out the form when you get done?
Nancy Weary, 435 West Delaware. I wanted to ask, I noticed, and I haven't reviewed the plan completely, we've talked about moving the water. Have we established any areas to retain the water so that we don't have to move it, as Mayor Eckert said? We get into these situations when we're moving the water and we're just causing flooding down the road. A lot of people here are from Mackenzie today that is beyond Lake Pearl. Their issues need to be addressed. South High, those things need to be addressed. So when we talk about, let's look at the whole picture, if we could. So.
I fill out a card to Cheryl Probably 40 Pleasant Street. I haven't heard a lot about Lake Macy except the park, which was a zero concern because it was a park and not anything that was, important. But since we've been here for 20 years, we've actually had 3 times that it's flooded. Once for just a tropical storm that was here for 5 years. And there's a lot of things, I don't know that's in the report, where the water comes in from all of these places, and there's 2 places it comes in and then it goes out. So we're not Lake Kelly where it's confined. We actually, by the second day, the water has dissipated downstream, wherever that goes. Maybe it's the river, I'm not sure. And there are fixes with that. I really appreciate the idea that maybe if we can get I-4 to DOT to get that implemented, that Lake Helen would get a lot less water that's coming through Macy and Helen and all of the other places. So I just want to address that as a concern, not just because it's a park. Because I have pictures, it's 200 feet to my house, and the water is up to here in my barn from the lake. It goes out the next day, but this is 3 times that this has happened. Obviously, Ian started the whole thing, but that's all I have to say.
And that's one of the areas that Mr. Farmer was talking about, where when we get a storm in, that section of Lake Helen's cut off from the rest of the city. Because I live in that city, that section, and I've got to go all around Casadega Road, Martin Luther, coming to Main Street when those floods occur. So get less water coming in, and then we can take and address what's in,
Yeah,
because it would be easier.
yeah, that would be good.
I'm Sheena Blinn, 721 Pleasant, also on the same street, and I was wondering if she'd like to come and see my property, because I can show her my before and after pictures. And so my pasture is completely empty right now. It's actually receding back to where it was, and if I can show her how far it came back, she's welcome to come on the property. And also, I would love to have a retention pond or something, or a, what's the name? Detention pond to go, for the water to go to, because it's all coming from the baseball field and surrounding my areas into my backyard. That's all.
I think your area gets flooded from the water that comes from Volusia Pines Elementary.
Actually, Volusia Hines Elementary's, detention ponds are completely empty. I have pictures from
Yeah, I know
there.
they're empty.
Yeah.
The front one's always got water.
But during the storm, there's two behind my property, they're empty. It's the land that's behind that. And it's the baseball field and all the city's land that has a pipe going from the baseball field into my backyard. Part of that is the city's property parcel, but the rest of it, that water goes into me and my neighbor's yard. So it's gotten worse the last two hurricanes. So I have pictures from both of them, so I could share them. I shared them with Ms. Donati last time through emails, and maybe you've all seen them already?
Could you send those to me also, since you're in my zone, I'd like to.
I thought they were already sent to everybody, hopefully.
I wasn't in office when you said.
So we have to, every time when new people come in office, we have to keep requesting for the city to hear it.
We'll be able to look it up and,
Okay.
make sure
Really
everybody
good.
gets a
We will
copy.
forward everything. Thank you.
That's why nothing's done.
Connor Tiger, 544 Jennings Avenue. And pretty much a similar thing. I'd also like to extend at least today, possibly later, opportunity to order return and or whoever they choose to send. Please come by. I'm not going to bother to do it. We have enough photos and video documentation to show it. I think if we have a photo that may or may not be made to the former mayor's email that shows me and my swimmies up to here in my backyard. Just so everyone else can see. I'm not exactly a small person, so I don't even think I was in the low spot. So we have a lot of stuff going on. The city itself has a road that's, frankly, I'm going to call it designed and engineered because that's the only way you can get a road into place. That's bowed and cambered in such a manner that we can get a sheet flow straight into our front yard, pointed straight at our front door. The last time we had a professional surveyor or engineer come by, they didn't have to get out of the truck to confirm that, yes, this road is bowed and cambered. They did not need their tools. The road is that badly visually done. I'm not a trained expert. I've become really interested in this because of my standing situation with this water. I've looked into the various ways we can resolve this. There are some simple methods that the city could do in parallel, in addition, in lieu of some of what they're doing. One of the things I've looked at as part of trying to solve the streets being part of the problem is as our city needs to replace the road surfaces, we don't get a lot of heavy industrial traffic, it's big 18 roads, whatever. Switch out some of the standard roads, or all the standard roads where necessary, with permeable paved asphalt. It is a very doable, and relatively common application in many places. There are standing companies that can do it. There are companies in the US and locally who can do it for relatively cheap. The only enhanced cost that I'm aware of for operating one of those is the city might have to lease a vacuum truck twice a year to clean it periodically. That's what they said. That's all I got. Okay.
Nobody else? Ready? Adjourn the meeting.
I didn't know how to get this picture, so I had to make it moving, because then I didn't get pictures. Pretty sure. I did not. I was sitting here.
Reach out to me on Messenger.
But it came through. I have a picture of him with his
Yes, I see him out.
You see him walking? I'm good. How are you doing? Oh, I don't want to be on camera. Yep, we're ready. I'll be